Maya Johnson stepped out of the taxi, her heels clicking softly against the pavement as she approached the towering Nexus Tech headquarters. It was a crisp morning, and the sun hung low in the sky, casting golden rays across the cityscape. Maya paused for a moment to take it all in: the gleaming glass facade of the building, the bustling crowd of professionals entering and exiting, and the sense that this could be the start of something big. She adjusted her navy blue blazer, smoothed down her blouse, and gripped her leather portfolio tighter. Today was important. Today might change everything. The lobby was even more impressive up close. Polished marble floors reflected the light streaming through the ceiling-high windows. Potted plants lined the space, adding a touch of greenery to the otherwise sleek design. A large sign behind the reception desk read, "Nexus Tech, Shaping Tomorrow's World." Maya felt a flicker of excitement mixed with nerves. This wasn't just any job interview. It was for a senior leadership position at one of the most innovative tech companies in the country. If she got this role, it would mean proving herself not only as a leader but also as someone who could break barriers. She walked up to the receptionist, a young woman with a warm smile. "Good morning," Maya said, her voice steady. "I'm here for an interview with the executive team." The receptionist nodded and typed something into her computer. "Of course, Ms. Johnson. They're ready for you. Take the elevator to the 15th floor. Someone will meet you there." Maya thanked her and headed toward the elevators. As she waited, she glanced at her reflection in the shiny metal doors. Her dark skin glowed under the soft lighting, and her curls were neatly styled. She had spent hours preparing for this day, researching the company, practicing answers to potential questions, and choosing an outfit that exuded professionalism without being overly formal. She knew how much rested on this opportunity. For years, she had worked tirelessly to climb the ladder in a field dominated by people who didn't look like her. Now, standing here, she reminded herself why she deserved to be taken seriously. When the elevator doors opened on the 15th floor, a man in a gray suit greeted her. He introduced himself as Alan Peters, the head of human resources. "Welcome, Ms. Johnson. Please follow me." Alan led her down a long hallway lined with framed posters showcasing Nexus Tech's achievements, innovative gadgets, awards, and photos of smiling employees. At the end of the hall, they stopped in front of double doors marked Conference Room B. Alan knocked lightly, then pushed the doors open. Inside, a panel of 5 people sat around a large oval table. Maya recognized some of them from their profiles online. There was Greg Harper, a middle-aged man known for his blunt demeanor and traditional views. Next to him was Linda Carter, whose sharp features matched her reputation for being critical and detail-oriented. Across from them sat 2 younger executives, Ethan Cole, who seemed friendly enough, and Claire Bennett, who appeared neutral but observant. At the far end of the table sat Daniel Hayes, the CEO, though he remained quiet, watching intently. "Ms. Johnson," Alan announced, gesturing for her to enter. "Thank you for coming today." Maya offered a polite smile and took a seat at the opposite end of the table. The atmosphere was tense, almost clinical. No one spoke immediately, and the silence stretched longer than necessary. Finally, Greg leaned forward, resting his elbows on the table. "So, Ms. Johnson," he began, his tone clipped, "tell us why you think you're qualified for this position." It was a loaded question, and Maya knew it. She met his gaze directly, refusing to let his condescending tone rattle her. "Thank you for asking, Mr. Harper," she replied calmly. "Over the past decade, I've successfully led several projects that have driven significant growth for my previous employers. One example is the AI-driven customer service platform I developed, which reduced response times by 40% and increased client satisfaction rates by 25%. Greg raised an eyebrow, clearly unimpressed. "Interesting. But those numbers don't tell the whole story, do they? Leading a project is one thing. Running an entire division of a global company like ours is another." Maya nodded, acknowledging his point. "You're absolutely right. Leadership requires more than technical expertise. It demands vision, adaptability, and the ability to inspire teams. Throughout my career, I've prioritized collaboration and mentorship. My goal has always been to create environments where people feel empowered to innovate. Linda chimed in, her tone skeptical. Empowerment sounds nice, but we operate in a competitive market. Do you really believe your approach can deliver results when deadlines are tight and stakes are high? Maya took a deep breath, keeping her composure. Absolutely. Empowering teams doesn't mean sacrificing efficiency. In fact, studies show that diverse and inclusive teams consistently outperform homogeneous ones. By fostering a culture of trust and accountability, leaders can achieve both short-term wins and long-term success. For a brief moment, no one responded. Then Greg smirked, leaning back in his chair. That's quite the theory, Ms. Johnson. But theories don't pay the bills. What makes you think you can handle the pressure of this role? You've never managed at this level before. The comment stung, but Maya refused to let it show. Instead, she smiled slightly, maintaining eye contact. I understand your concerns, Mr. Harper. Every leader faces challenges when stepping into a new role. However, I've spent my career preparing for opportunities like this. I thrive under pressure and view obstacles as chances to grow. If given the chance, I'm confident I can prove myself. Linda exchanged a glance with Greg, raising an eyebrow. Confidence is admirable, Ms. Johnson, but confidence alone won't cut it here. We need someone with proven experience, not just potential. Maya clenched her jaw briefly but quickly regained her composure. Experience is valuable, yes, but so is perspective. Sometimes what a company needs isn't someone who fits the mold, it's someone who can reshape it. That's what I bring to the table. As the conversation continued, Maya noticed subtle shifts in the room. Ethan scribbled notes furiously, occasionally nodding in agreement with her points. Claire remained silent, observing the exchange with a thoughtful expression. Meanwhile, Daniel Hayes still hadn't said a word, his piercing eyes fixed on her. Something about his demeanor made her uneasy, though she couldn't quite put her finger on why. Greg pressed on, his tone growing increasingly dismissive. Let's talk about your proposal for expanding outreach programs. How realistic is that, given our current budget constraints? Maya launched into a detailed explanation, citing data and case studies to support her ideas. Yet no matter how thoroughly she addressed their questions, Greg found ways to poke holes in her arguments. Linda joined in, questioning her assumptions, and implying that her plans were too ambitious. Each critique chipped away at Maya's patience, but she refused to let frustration creep into her voice. Finally, after nearly an hour of relentless scrutiny, Daniel cleared his throat. Everyone turned to look at him, surprised by the sudden interruption. Thank you, Ms. Johnson, he said, his voice firm yet measured. We appreciate your time and insights. We'll be in touch soon. Maya stood up, offering a polite nod. Thank you for considering me. I look forward to hearing from you. As she left the room, she couldn't shake the feeling that something unusual had happened during that interview. Despite the panel's skepticism, she sensed a glimmer of hope, a possibility that maybe, just maybe, things weren't over yet. Little did she know, her life, and the future of Nexus Tech, was about to change forever. Maya walked out of the conference room feeling a mix of emotions. On one hand, she was proud of how she had handled herself during the intense questioning. She had stayed calm, answered thoughtfully, and defended her ideas with confidence. But, on the other hand, the dismissive attitude from Greg Harper and Linda Carter left her frustrated. It was clear they didn't think much of her qualifications, no matter what she said. As she made her way back to the elevator, Maya replayed parts of the interview in her mind. Had she done enough? Was it possible to win over people who seemed determined not to see her value? She sighed softly as the elevator doors closed around her. For now, all she could do was wait. Unbeknownst to Maya, something unusual was happening upstairs. Back in the conference room, Daniel Hayes finally spoke up after she left. He leaned forward slightly, his piercing gaze scanning the faces of his team. What exactly was that, he asked, his tone sharp but controlled. Greg frowned, caught off guard by the question. What do you mean, Daniel? We were just doing our job, evaluating her suitability for the role. Evaluating? Daniel repeated, raising an eyebrow. His voice carried an edge that made everyone sit up straighter. Is that what you call mocking someone's ideas and doubting their abilities without giving them a fair chance? Linda shifted uncomfortably in her seat. We weren't mocking her, she protested weakly. We were asking tough questions. That's part of the process. Daniel shook his head, clearly unimpressed. Tough questions are one thing, disrespect is another. Did you notice how she handled every critique with grace and logic? Instead of listening to her answers, you dismissed her outright. Why? Ethan glanced nervously between Daniel and the others. He hadn't spoken much during the interview, but he couldn't deny that Daniel had a point. Maya's responses had been impressive, even if Greg and Linda refused to admit it. Claire chimed in, cautiously. I agree she's qualified. Her resume speaks for itself. But leadership at this level requires more than technical skills. We have to consider whether she can command respect across the company. And you believe she can't? Daniel countered. Because she's young? Or because she's a woman? Or because she's black? The room fell silent. No one dared to respond directly, but the truth hung heavy in the air. Daniel stood up, his tall frame commanding attention. Let me make something clear, he said firmly. Nexus Tech is supposed to be a place where innovation thrives. Yet here we are, letting bias dictate who gets a seat at the table. If we want to lead this industry, we need leaders who challenge the status quo, not ones who perpetuate it. He paused, letting his words sink in before continuing. Maya Johnson is exactly the kind of leader we need. She has vision, resilience, and the ability to inspire change. And if none of you can see that, then maybe it's time for a shakeup. With that, Daniel turned and walked out of the room, leaving the panel stunned. Greg stared after him, his face flushed with anger. Linda looked uneasy, fiddling with her pen. Ethan and Claire exchanged glances, unsure of what to say. Meanwhile, Maya had reached the lobby and was about to step outside when a young assistant approached her. Ms. Johnson, the assistant said quickly, Mr. Hayes would like to speak. With you privately. Please follow me. Confused but curious, Maya nodded and followed the assistant to a small meeting room nearby. A few minutes later, Daniel entered, closing the door behind him. He gestured for her to sit, though his expression remained serious. I apologize for what happened earlier. He began without preamble. You didn't deserve to be treated that way. I've been watching the interview through a live feed, and I wanted to address it personally. Maya blinked, surprised by his directness. Thank you, she said carefully. I appreciate your concern, but I assume these kinds of situations come with the territory. Daniel shook his head. Not on my watch. Bias has no place in this company, or anywhere else for that matter. He studied her for a moment, noting the strength in her eyes despite the challenges she'd faced. Tell me, Ms. Johnson, why do you want this role? The question caught her off guard. After everything that had happened, she hadn't expected him to ask such a straightforward question. But she took a deep breath and answered honestly. I want this role because I believe I can make a difference, not just for Nexus Tech, but for the people who rely on our products and services. Technology has the power to transform lives, but only if we use it responsibly. I want to ensure that everyone, regardless of background, has access to the tools they need to succeed. Daniel listened intently, nodding slowly. That's exactly the mindset we need, he said. And it's why I'm offering you the position of chairwoman effective immediately. Maya froze, certain she had misheard him. Excuse me? You heard me, Daniel replied with a faint smile. You're the right person for this job. Your vision aligns perfectly with where I want to take this company. I don't care about politics or procedures, I care about results. And I know you'll deliver. For a moment, Maya couldn't find the words. This was completely unexpected. But what about the panel? She managed to ask. They seemed hesitant. They work for me, Daniel said simply. Their opinions matter, but ultimately the decision is mine, and I choose you. Maya felt a surge of gratitude and determination. Thank you, Mr. Hayes, I won't let you down. I know you won't, he said, extending his hand. Welcome to Nexus Tech, Chairwoman Johnson. When they returned to the conference room together, the atmosphere was electric. The panel members looked up in shock as Daniel announced his decision. Effective immediately, Maya Johnson will assume the role of chairwoman, he declared, his tone leaving no room for argument. She will report directly to me, and I expect full cooperation from everyone in supporting her transition. Greg opened his mouth to protest, but Daniel cut him off. If anyone has a problem with this decision, they're welcome to discuss it with me privately. Otherwise, I suggest we focus on moving forward. No one dared to argue further. As the news sank in, Maya stood calmly beside Daniel, meeting each pair of eyes with quiet confidence. She knew the road ahead wouldn't be easy, but she also knew she had earned this opportunity, and she was ready to prove herself. Later that day, as Maya packed up her things to leave, she received a text message from Rachel Monroe, a mid-level manager she had briefly met during her tour of the office. "Congratulations on your new role," the message read. "I know things might get tough, but please know you have allies here. Let me know if there's anything I can do to help." Maya smiled softly, saving the number. It was a small gesture, but it meant a lot. For the first time in hours, she allowed herself to feel hopeful. The battle wasn't over, but she had taken the first step, and she wasn't going to look back. The news of Maya Johnson's promotion spread like wildfire through Nexus Tech. By the time she arrived at the office the next morning, everyone seemed to know about it. Some employees whispered behind her back, their expressions ranging from curiosity to skepticism. Others avoided eye contact altogether, pretending not to notice her presence. But no matter how they reacted, one thing was clear: Maya had become the center of attention. As she stepped off the elevator onto her new floor, Maya felt a knot tighten in her stomach. This wasn't just any job, it was a battlefield. She knew that proving herself wouldn't be easy, especially after bypassing the usual protocols. Still, she reminded herself why she was here: to make a difference. With a deep breath, she walked into her new office, a spacious corner room with floor-to-ceiling windows overlooking the city skyline. Her assistant, Rachel Monroe, greeted her with a warm smile. "Good morning, Chairwoman Johnson," Rachel said cheerfully. "I've set up your schedule for the day. You have meetings with key department heads starting at 10 o'clock. Maya nodded, grateful for Rachel's support. "Thank you, Rachel. I appreciate it." Rachel hesitated for a moment before adding, "If you don't mind me saying, people are talking. Not everyone is happy about, well, what happened yesterday." "I expected as much," Maya replied calmly. "Change always comes with resistance, but we'll handle it together." Rachel smiled, reassured by Maya's confidence. "Whatever you need, I'm here to help." Throughout the morning, Maya met with various teams to introduce herself and outline her vision for the company. Her first meeting was with the marketing department led by Greg Harper. As soon as she entered the conference room, Greg's cold demeanor made it clear he wasn't pleased to see her. He barely acknowledged her presence, focusing instead on his notes. "Thank you all for taking the time to meet with me," Maya began, addressing the team. "I know there may be questions about my appointment, so let me start by being transparent. My goal as chairwoman is simple: to ensure Nexus Tech remains at the forefront of innovation while fostering inclusivity and collaboration across all levels of the organization." Greg raised an eyebrow, clearly unimpressed. "Inclusivity sounds nice, but it won't drive sales or improve our bottom line." Maya met his gaze without flinching. "Actually, studies show that diverse teams perform better financially. When people feel valued and included, they're more motivated to contribute their best ideas. That benefits everyone, including shareholders." Greg muttered something under his breath, but Maya ignored him and continued. "I'd like to hear your thoughts on expanding our outreach programs to underserved communities. Technology has the power to transform lives, and I believe Nexus Tech can play a leading role in making that happen." The rest of the team exchanged glances, unsure of how to respond. While some were intrigued by Maya's proposal, others shared Greg's skepticism. It was clear that gaining their trust would take time. After the meeting, Maya returned to her office, where Rachel was waiting, with updates. "How did it go?" Rachel asked cautiously. "It could have been worse," Maya admitted. But I know I didn't win them over completely. We'll need to show results quickly if we want to silence the doubters. Rachel nodded thoughtfully. You're not alone in this, Maya. There are people who believe in you, even if they haven't said so yet. Over the next few weeks, Maya faced resistance at every turn. Key departments refused to collaborate, claiming they were too busy with existing projects. Anonymous emails filled with racist slurs flooded her inbox. At one point, someone tampered with her presentation slides during a major meeting, causing technical glitches that disrupted the entire session. Despite these challenges, Maya refused to give up. She leaned on Rachel for support and began building alliances within the company. One ally emerged unexpectedly, a mid-level manager named Kevin Patel, who initially doubted her but came around after witnessing her dedication. Kevin admired Maya's ability to stay calm under pressure and offered to help bridge the gap between her and other skeptical employees. You're fighting an uphill battle, Kevin told her one evening as they reviewed project plans in her office. But I respect what you're trying to do. If you need anything, count me in. Maya smiled gratefully. Thank you, Kevin. Having allies like you makes all the difference. With Kevin's help, Maya started implementing small changes that gradually gained traction. She introduced monthly town hall meetings where employees could voice concerns and share ideas. She launched mentorship programs aimed at nurturing diverse talent and encouraged cross-departmental collaboration on innovative projects. Slowly but surely, attitudes began to shift. One breakthrough came when Maya spearheaded a pilot program to bring affordable AI tools to schools in low-income neighborhoods. The initiative received widespread praise from local communities and even caught the attention of national media outlets. Employees who had once dismissed her ideas now saw firsthand the impact of her leadership. During a follow-up meeting with the executive team, Daniel Hayes expressed his approval. Your work is inspiring, Maya, he said. Not only are you driving results, but you're also reshaping the culture of this company. Keep going. Maya nodded, feeling a renewed sense of purpose. She knew the journey ahead wouldn't be easy, but she was ready to face whatever came her way. With each victory, she proved that she belonged in the role and that Nexus Tech was stronger because of her leadership. By the end of her third month as chairwoman, Maya had transformed the narrative surrounding her appointment. What had once been met with doubt and hostility was now celebrated as a turning point for the company. Though challenges remained, Maya faced them with resilience and determination, knowing she had the support of those who truly mattered. As she stood on the balcony of her office late one evening, watching the city lights twinkle below, Maya allowed herself a moment of reflection. The road had been tough, but she had taken the first steps toward creating lasting change. And she knew this was only the beginning. Months had passed since Maya Johnson became chairwoman of Nexus Tech, and the company was beginning to feel like a different place. Slowly but surely, her vision was taking shape. The resistance she faced at first hadn't disappeared entirely, but it had softened. People who once doubted her now saw glimpses of what she could achieve. Her determination and resilience were impossible to ignore. One evening, Maya sat in her office reviewing plans for a major project that would define her leadership. It was called Access AI, a revolutionary platform designed to bring advanced technology to underserved communities. The idea had been brewing in her mind for years, inspired by her own experiences growing up in a neighborhood where opportunities were scarce. Now, with the resources of Nexus Tech at her disposal, she was ready to make it a reality. The launch event was scheduled for the following week, and preparations were in full swing. Maya spent hours each day meeting with teams, fine-tuning details, and ensuring everything was perfect. She knew this wasn't just another product rollout, it was a statement. A declaration that Nexus Tech cared about more than profits. It cared about people. As the big day approached, excitement buzzed through the office. Employees who had once resisted Maya's ideas were now pitching in enthusiastically. Even Greg Harper, though still skeptical, couldn't deny the buzz surrounding Access AI. During a team meeting, he reluctantly admitted, "If this works, it could be huge." Maya smiled inwardly, knowing how much effort it must have taken for Greg to say those words. "Thank you, Greg," she replied graciously. "I believe it will work, because we're doing something meaningful. Together, we can create real change." On the morning of the launch, Nexus Tech's headquarters buzzed with energy. Reporters, industry leaders, and government officials filled the auditorium, eager to hear what Nexus Tech had planned. Maya stood backstage, going over her speech one last time. Rachel Monroe, ever loyal, stood beside her, offering words of encouragement. "You've got this, Maya," Rachel said with a reassuring smile. "Just remember why you're here." Maya nodded, taking a deep breath. "Thanks, Rachel, I needed to hear that." When it was time, Maya walked onto the stage to thunderous applause. The spotlight shone brightly on her as she stepped up to the podium. For a moment she paused, looking out at the sea of faces before her. This was it, the culmination of all her hard work. "Good evening," she began, her voice steady and clear. "Thank you all for joining us today. Nexus Tech has always been a company driven by innovation, but tonight, we're taking that commitment further. Tonight we're proving that technology isn't just for some, it's for everyone." She clicked a button on the remote, and a video played on the massive screen behind her. The footage showed children in low-income neighborhoods using tablets powered by Access AI to learn coding, farmers in rural areas utilizing AI tools to improve crop yields, and elderly individuals accessing healthcare services remotely. The audience watched silently, captivated by the stories unfolding before them. "When I started my career in tech," Maya continued, "I often felt like I didn't belong. There weren't many people who looked like me or shared my background, but I realized something important, that diversity isn't just a checkbox, it's a strength. When we include voices from all walks of life, we unlock endless possibilities." She paused, letting her words sink in. "That's why we created Access AI. Our goal is simple: to break down barriers and give everyone a chance to succeed. Whether it's a student dreaming of becoming an engineer, a farmer working to feed their family, or a senior citizen seeking better healthcare, Access AI is here to help." The crowd erupted into applause, and Maya felt a surge of pride. She went on to explain the technical aspects of the platform, highlighting its affordability, scalability, and ease of use. By the end of her presentation, the audience was on their feet, cheering loudly. After the event, Maya mingled with guests, answering questions and sharing her thoughts. Many praised her for her bold vision, while others expressed interest in partnering with Nexus Tech to expand Access AI globally. One guest, a prominent tech journalist, pulled her aside for a quick chat. "Ms. Johnson," the journalist said, jotting down notes, "your story is inspiring. How did you manage to push such a transformative idea through a traditionally resistant industry?" Maya thought for a moment before responding. "It wasn't easy. There were times when I doubted myself, when people told me it couldn't be done. But I refused to give up because I knew this was bigger than me. It's about showing the world that change is possible and necessary." The journalist smiled, clearly impressed. "Well, you've certainly made waves tonight. Congratulations." Later, that evening, back at the office, Maya allowed herself a moment of quiet reflection. She stood on the balcony of her office, gazing out at the glittering city lights. The weight of the past months lifted slightly as she realized how far she'd come. From the mockery during her interview to standing on stage as chairwoman, leading a movement that could reshape lives, she had defied every expectation. Rachel joined her, holding 2 cups of coffee. "Here," she said, handing one to Maya. "You deserve this." Maya took the cup gratefully, savoring the warmth. "Thank you, Rachel. I couldn't have done any of this without your support." Rachel shrugged modestly. "You did the heavy lifting. I just helped where I could." They stood in companionable silence for a while, watching the city below. Finally, Rachel spoke again. "What's next for you? After all this, I mean." Maya smiled softly. "Next, we keep going. There's still so much work to do. But tonight, we celebrate, and celebrate they did." Back inside, the team gathered for an impromptu celebration. Employees congratulated Maya, shaking her hand and thanking her for believing in them. Even Greg Harper offered a begrudging nod of approval, which Maya accepted with grace. As the night wore on, Maya found herself surrounded by people who believed in her vision. They weren't just colleagues anymore. They were allies, partners in building a better future. And for the first time in a long time, Maya felt truly at peace. But she knew this was only the beginning. Access AI was a step forward, but there were countless challenges ahead. Still, with the foundation she had built and the support of those around her, Maya was ready to face whatever came next. As the clock struck midnight, Maya raised her coffee cup in a silent toast. To progress, to perseverance, and to the power of believing in oneself, even when no one else does. The success of Access AI marked a turning point, not just for Nexus Tech, but for Maya Johnson herself. Overnight, she went from being a controversial appointee to one of the most respected leaders in the tech industry. News outlets hailed her as a trailblazer, highlighting how her leadership had transformed Nexus Tech into a beacon of inclusivity and innovation. Employees who once doubted her now looked up to her as a role model. Even Greg Harper, though still gruff, began acknowledging her contributions during meetings, but Maya didn't let the praise go to her head. She knew the work wasn't done. While Access AI had been a major success, there were still countless communities around the world that lacked access to advanced technology. For every school or village helped by the program, dozens more remained untouched. Maya was determined to expand its reach, even if it meant facing new challenges. One morning, she called Rachel Monroe into her office. "I've been thinking," Maya said, leaning back in her chair. "Access AI has made great strides, but we can't stop here. We need to take this global." Rachel nodded thoughtfully. "That's ambitious, but I think you're right. Where do you want to start?" Maya pulled up a map on her laptop, pointing to regions across Africa, South America, and Southeast Asia. These areas have incredible potential, but they're often overlooked. If we partner with local organizations and governments, we can make a real impact. Over the next few weeks, Maya worked tirelessly to build partnerships and secure funding for the expansion. She traveled extensively, meeting with community leaders, educators, and policymakers. Each trip reinforced her belief in the importance of what she was doing. In Kenya, she visited a school where children used Access AI tools to learn coding. Their excitement was contagious, filling her with renewed determination. Back at Nexus Tech headquarters, the team rallied behind her vision. Kevin Patel played a key role, coordinating logistics and ensuring smooth implementation in each region. Other employees volunteered their time and expertise, inspired by Maya's passion. Slowly but surely, Access AI expanded its footprint, reaching thousands of lives. As the months passed, Maya noticed subtle changes within the company. Employees who had once resisted her ideas now embraced them wholeheartedly. Collaboration improved, and morale soared. People felt proud to be part of an organization making such a positive impact. Even Linda Carter, who had initially dismissed Maya's proposals, approached her one day with an apology. "I misjudged you," Linda admitted, her tone sincere. "What you've accomplished here is remarkable. You've earned my respect." Maya smiled warmly. "Thank you, Linda. That means a lot. Let's keep working together to make Nexus Tech even better." While things were improving internally, external recognition continued to pour in. Industry awards lined the shelves of Maya's office, and invitations to speak at conferences flooded her inbox. One invitation stood out, a prestigious global summit focused on using technology for social good. It was an opportunity to share Nexus Tech's story with a wider audience. At the summit, Maya delivered a powerful speech that resonated deeply with attendees. She spoke about the importance of diversity in leadership, the value of inclusivity, and the transformative power of technology when used responsibly. Her words struck a chord, earning her a standing ovation. Afterward, a young black girl approached her shyly. "Ms. Johnson," the girl said hesitantly, "can I talk to you for a moment?" Maya knelt down to meet her eye level. "Of course. What's your name?" "Amara," the girl replied softly. "I want to work in tech someday, but I don't see many people like me doing it. Do you think I can really do it? Maya's heart swelled with emotion. She placed a hand gently on Amara's shoulder. Yes, you absolutely can. And you know why? Because the world needs people like you, people who understand problems others might overlook. Don't let anyone tell you that you don't belong. Keep dreaming big and never give up. Tears welled up in Amara's eyes as she hugged Maya tightly. Thank you, she whispered. That moment stayed with Maya long after the summit ended. It reminded her why she had fought so hard to get here, not just for herself, but for all the Amaras of the world. She returned to Nexus Tech with renewed purpose, ready to tackle whatever came next. By the end of the year, Nexus Tech had become synonymous with innovation and inclusivity. Under Maya's leadership, the company launched several new initiatives aimed at fostering diverse talent and promoting equity in the tech industry. Internally, she established mentorship programs and training workshops to ensure that employees from underrepresented backgrounds had opportunities to grow and thrive. Her efforts did not go unnoticed. Daniel Hayes, the CEO who had believed in her from the start, pulled her aside one evening. "You've exceeded all expectations, Maya," he said sincerely. "Not only have you transformed Nexus Tech, but you've inspired an entire generation of leaders." I couldn't be prouder. Maya felt a lump in her throat. Thank you, Daniel. None of this would have been possible without your support and the support of so many others. Daniel smiled. Don't sell yourself short. This is your legacy, and it's only beginning. As the year drew to a close, Maya reflected on how far she'd come. From the tense interview room where she faced mockery to standing on stages, worldwide as a symbol of hope and progress, her journey had been anything but easy. But through resilience, determination, and unwavering belief in herself, she had proven that change was possible, even in the face of adversity. Looking ahead, Maya knew there would always be obstacles. The road to true equality and inclusion was long, and setbacks were inevitable. But she also knew that with perseverance and the support of those around her, she could continue breaking barriers and creating opportunities for others. One evening, as she stood on the balcony of her office gazing at the city lights, Maya allowed herself a rare moment of pride. She thought about the young girl named Amara and all the other dreamers out there looking for someone to believe in them. With Access AI expanding globally and Nexus Tech leading the charge for inclusivity, she felt hopeful about the future. A year had passed since Maya Johnson became chairwoman of Nexus Tech, and the transformation within the company was undeniable. What had once been a rigid, hierarchical organization was now a thriving hub of innovation and inclusivity. Employees, who had felt unheard or undervalued, found their voices under Maya's leadership. Teams collaborated more effectively, projects moved forward with renewed energy, and the sense of purpose permeating the workplace was palpable. Maya herself had grown into her role with remarkable grace and determination. She no longer felt like an outsider fighting to prove herself. Instead, she stood firmly as a leader whose vision inspired those around her. Her ability to listen, adapt, and lead with empathy earned her not just respect, but admiration. Even Greg Harper, who had initially dismissed her ideas, now sought her advice on strategic decisions, a testament to how far they'd all come. One afternoon, Maya received an email that brought tears to her eyes. It was from Amara, the young girl she had met at the Global Summit months earlier. Attached to the message was a photo of Amara holding a certificate for winning first place in a school coding competition. The note read, "Dear Ms. Johnson, thank you for believing in me when I didn't believe in myself. Because of your encouragement, I decided to join my school's coding club. Now I've won an award for creating a program that helps students learn math faster. You're my hero, and I hope one day I can make as big a difference as you have. Thank you for everything." Maya stared at the screen, overwhelmed with emotion. This was why she did what she did, not for accolades or recognition, but to create opportunities for people like Amara, to show them that no matter where they came from, they could achieve greatness if given the chance. Inspired by Amara's success, Maya decided it was time to take things further. She called Rachel Monroe into her office and shared her idea. "I want to start a mentorship program specifically for young girls and women of color interested in tech," Maya explained. "We'll pair them with mentors from Nexus Tech, provide scholarships and host workshops to teach skills like coding and robotics." Rachel smiled, nodding enthusiastically. "That's a wonderful idea, Maya. Let's make it happen." Within weeks, the program, named Future Leaders Initiative, was up and running. Dozens of girls applied, eager to learn and grow. Maya personally oversaw its launch, visiting schools and community centers to spread the word. At each stop, she shared her own story, encouraging young women to dream big and never let anyone tell them they weren't good enough. As the months went by, the impact of the initiative became clear. Girls who had never considered careers in tech began exploring possibilities they hadn't imagined before. Parents thanked Maya for giving their daughters hope. Teachers reported seeing increased confidence and ambition among participants. It was proof that representation mattered, and that Maya's efforts were planting seeds for a brighter future. Back at Nexus Tech, the culture continued to evolve. Employees embraced diversity not as a checkbox but as a source of strength. Teams worked together seamlessly, drawing on unique perspectives to solve complex problems. Sales figures soared as Access AI expanded globally, earning praise from customers and partners alike. Investors hailed Nexus Tech as a model for sustainable growth, driven by social responsibility. During a company-wide meeting, Daniel Hayes addressed the staff with pride. "When I appointed Maya as chairwoman, I knew we needed someone bold enough to challenge the status quo. What I didn't realize was just how profoundly she would change this company, for the better." Today, Nexus Tech isn't just a business, it's a movement. And none of this would have been possible without Maya's leadership. The room erupted in applause as Maya stepped forward to speak. "Thank you, Daniel, and thank you all for your hard work and dedication," she said, her voice steady but filled with emotion. "This journey hasn't always been easy, but it's been worth every step because of people like you. Together, we've shown the world that technology can be a force for good, that it can break barriers, create opportunities, and transform lives." She paused, scanning the faces of her colleagues. "But our work isn't done. There are still communities waiting to be reached, dreams waiting to be realized. So let's keep pushing forward. Let's continue building a world where everyone has a seat at the table." Her words resonated deeply, leaving many in the audience visibly moved. After the meeting, employees lined up to congratulate her, sharing stories of how her leadership had impacted their lives. One young engineer named Marcus told her, "You've made me believe I can aim higher than I ever thought possible. Thank you for showing us what true leadership looks like." Later that evening, Maya returned to her office, exhausted but fulfilled. As she stood on the balcony overlooking the city, she reflected on everything she had achieved, and everything that still lay ahead. From the tense interview room where she faced mockery to becoming one of the most influential figures in the tech industry, her journey had been nothing short of extraordinary. But Maya knew her legacy wasn't about titles or awards. It was about the lives she touched, the doors she opened, and the paths she paved for others to follow. Every child learning to code, every employee finding their voice, every community gaining access to life-changing technology. It was all part of something greater than herself. As the sun dipped below the horizon, painting the sky in hues of orange and pink, Maya allowed herself a moment of quiet gratitude. She thought about Amara, Marcus, and countless others whose futures were brighter because of the work she and her team had done. She thought about her own journey, the struggles, the triumphs, and the lessons learned along the way. Finally, she smiled softly, knowing that this was only the beginning. There would always be challenges, setbacks, and obstacles to overcome. But as long as there were people willing to fight for a better tomorrow, Maya knew the world would keep moving forward, one step at a time. With that thought, she turned back toward her desk, ready to face whatever came next. For Maya Johnson, the road ahead was full of promise, and she was determined to make the most of it.